All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most intimidating documents in all of investing, the 10K report. Seriously, this thing is the key to really understanding a company, and I promise, by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to conquer it in under an hour.
I mean, think about it for a second. This document is the audited, comprehensive truth that a company is legally forced to tell you. So while everyone else is getting distracted by flashy press releases and slick earnings calls, the real story, well, it's hiding right here. And most investors, they never even bother to look.
And, this is probably why. A typical 10K can easily sprawl over 200 pages of just dense, legalistic text. It almost feels like it's designed to be intimidating. But what if I told you that you don't actually need to read every single word to pull out the most critical info?
See, the secret isn't about reading faster. It's about having a map. And that's exactly what this is, your treasure map. We're going to use it to go straight to the sections that hold all the gold, so you can confidently and strategically skip the rest.
So a 10K is broken down into 4 main parts. For our 60-minute strategy, we are going to focus almost entirely on the first 2. That's part 1, the business and risks, and part 2, the core financial data. Trust me, this is where you get like 80% of the value for 20% of the effort.
Let's start with part 1. Item 1 is simple. It tells you what the company actually does, not their fluffy mission statement, but how they generate cold, hard cash. Then, Item 1A lists every single thing that could possibly destroy the business. But here's the real pro move. You pull up last year's report and compare them side by side. Did a new competitor just pop up in the risk factors? Did a risk that was buried on page 50 suddenly jump to the top 3? Those changes. That's the real story.
And look, this section is legally required to be a complete parade of horribles. It's a whole book of monsters under the bed. But you're not here for a scary story. You are hunting for the new monster, or maybe the one that's suddenly gotten a whole lot bigger. That is literally management telling you, hey, this is what's keeping us up at night this year.
Okay, now let's move on from the risks to the reasons. We are about to enter the absolute heart of the 10K. This is Item 7, Management's Discussion and Analysis, or as everyone calls it, the MD&A.
And I am not exaggerating here. If you only have 20 minutes to look at a company, you should spend all of them right here. Why? Because this is where management has to drop the PR spin and explain in their own words why the numbers are what they are. It is the official story behind the spreadsheet.
So, what are you looking for when you're in there? You're listening for changes in tone from last year. Is management suddenly sounding a lot more cautious? You're looking for specific numbers, not vague phrases like, "we saw strong demand." And most importantly, you're looking for something called critical accounting estimates, which is basically code for, hey, here's where we have the most wiggle room to make the numbers look good.
Now, as you're reading through the financials, this right here is a crucial test. A company can report really high net income, big profits on paper, but if their operating cash flow is low or even negative, that is a massive red flag. Always, always remember, profits are an opinion, but cash is a fact, and you can't pay the bills with an opinion.
This is exactly why you cannot just skip the fine print. After you get through the main financial statements, you hit the footnotes, and you should think of these as the section where companies have to disclose the details on their debt, any major lawsuits, how they recognize revenue, all the details that can tell a very different story from the one on the income statement.
Okay, so we know the key sections to read. Now, what specific warning signs are we hunting for as we go through them? Let's break down some of the most common and most important red flags.
You really want to pay special attention to these. An auditor change, for instance, is a huge deal. Companies do not fire their accountant unless there's some kind of serious disagreement. And if you ever see the phrase going concern in the auditor's report, that's the auditor formally questioning if the company will even exist in 12 months. It is the ultimate red flag.
All right, we've covered the what and the why. Now let's put it all together into an actionable step-by-step game plan. This is exactly how you're going to read a 10K in 1 hour.
Here's the clock. You spend the first 5 minutes just understanding the business, then 10 minutes on risk factors. But remember, you're only focusing on what's new. Then comes the main event, a full 20 minutes inside the MD&A. After that, 15 minutes to scan the financials for trends and that cash flow divergence we talked about. And finally, a quick 10 minutes for the most important footnotes and a check on the auditor's report. And that's it. You're done.
Now, just following this plan is a huge leap forward. But what if you can make it even more efficient? The real key insight here is that the number crunching part, calculating ratios, tracking trends, flagging that cash flow issue, all of that can and probably should be automated.
And this is really where technology becomes a total game changer. Tools like fffinstill are designed to do exactly that. They handle all the quantitative heavy lifting for you, running the calculations and spotting anomalies automatically, so you can spend your valuable time on the qualitative analysis, the part that actually requires your judgment.
This is how you really supercharge your analysis. At fffinstill, we've automated the reading of these ridiculously complex filings just to make it simple. I mean, imagine using a RAG AI agent that's designed for financial documents where you can just ask direct questions about a 10K, like, what are the newest risk factors, and get an immediate answer. It frees you up to focus on the narrative and the strategy. And if you want to go deeper, we've also got over 300 free learning concepts on our site for you to explore.
So the key takeaway here is pretty simple. The information you need is all right there, just hiding in plain sight. You just need the right map and the right tools to find it. If this explainer was helpful, make sure to follow us for more. And when you're ready to actually put all this into practice, head over to fffinstill.com and start analyzing like a pro.